Okay, here is the 3D model of the new stock. Give you a little bit of a rotational view of it. And this is all on Inventor. I know a lot of guys use SolidWorks, but for my engineering I was trained on Inventor, so that's what I'm used to using. Here's the dimensional drawing for it. If there are any other engineers out there looking at this right now, yeah, I know the dimensions are not labeled on your 100% correctly and laid out like they should be. I laid them out this way because of the oddball way that I have to machine the part, so it made things easier for me because of my limitations in my machining equipment. I am by no means a machinist, but I have turned out some pretty interesting stuff over the years, and my projects always turn out really nice. It just takes me a lot longer to machine the things out than what it would a professional machinist. But at least the end result is a quality part when it's all said and done. So here it is in picture computer format, and we'll go ahead now and turn this thing into reality. Here is the first part of the milling for the rifle stock. I have one of the slits in the forearm part done, and just starting on the second one. The two pilot holes are done. Just gotta carve it out now all the way through the material. Okay, I got the part all jigged up, ready to finally start cutting the trough for the bore and the action. This is why I cut the slots first, so that I was able to slide a piece of steel through and then support the front as well as the back of the piece. Everything's centered and set, and I'm just going to do the rough cutting on it now, and then later I'll go back and finish the final sizing on it with a quarter round nose. The center part is roughed out now. That is where the action and the barrel are going to sit. Hopefully everybody can see that pretty well, and it is pretty rough, but it doesn't matter, it'll get finished up. I just buzzed through it quick. And then I also cut the center slot down in the middle here that runs into the slots on the side. I put those in so I can get a little bit better airflow around the barrel. The barrel will end up starting right about here, and then it runs 28 inches out that way. I also started roughing in the pocket for the trigger group. I got the first part of the step done there. There's like 4 or 5 different steps to get that all the way down in. Kind of a pain. Alrighty. Okay. The pocket for the trigger group is all roughed in, and I am just starting the final sizing on it and get it all cleaned up and looking pretty. It's a real pain in the ass doing these angles on here without a CNC, so I've just been doing small steps, move it in a little bit, move it over, move it in, move it over, and it's not really a big deal for this. It doesn't have to look super pretty on the angle, so I don't mind the steps, because as soon as the barrel and stuff's installed, you'll never see it. Alright, the pocket for the trigger group is now finished. Let's see if I can get some better light on that. There we go. And the new 1/4 inch 2 flute coated carbide worked really well on here. I didn't have any aluminum sticking or gluing its way in at all. Did a really nice job cutting. Everything's smooth and shiny. The rib stuff that you see on the angle here, that's just steps, because I don't have a nice fancy CNC, so I'm forced to move up and then over, up, over, up, over, until it eventually cuts an angle. So these cuts here were made doing 24,000 step over and then 100,000 step down the line. I believe there was like 13 steps in just the first part. Okay, the slots for the recoil lug and the key that sits between the recoil lug and the action, I got those cut in there now. And then the 2 holes, the one there and the one right there for the action bolts. The only thing left to do on this top surface in this position is put the finishing touches on this roughed in groove here for the barrel and the action to sit in. I had to call it quits on the top. Instead of doing the 1/4 inch round nose and profiling the entire shape down the bore, I was finally able to locate a 1 3/8 router bit for making Vegas chip style trays. Anyway, so since I stopped that, I wasn't going to let the whole project go to a halt, so I'm just going to continue and machine out the rest, and I'll re-chuck it up in here later to finish up that top part. I'll have to add some blocks here in the bottom, but not a big deal. So I just started roughing off the bottom of the forend all the way back to the action. The pistol grip is going to start right here. It'll be sticking up right there in the center once this all gets cut down. The chips that are coming off, I'm actually pretty surprised how well this thing's doing. I don't know if you can see that or not, but they got incredibly large chips coming off here. It's a 3/4 inch high-speed steel 3 flute, and it's old and crusty, but the thing actually cuts pretty darn good as long as you feed it in there hard enough. The entire bottom side of the forend, whatever, I got that all milled off. There was a lot of material to remove, but it came off relatively quick with that 3/4 bit. And then I just finished machining the pocket for the trigger guard, and that fit pretty darn good. I had to open it up an additional 4/1000 from what I had. They're plastic parts, so it's a little tough to get a real accurate measurement on them. But the pocket turned out really good. I just have the 1 hole back here to drill and tap for the screw that holds on the back of it. The front screw on here that goes all the way through to hold the action together. But yeah, the piece fits really nice in there. It's got a good solid snug fit. I got no play on the sides at all, and I got just a real little bit of play front to back, but it ain't much. I mean, it's maybe 20-25 thousandths of play. It's pretty minor. Either way, it ends up with a really nice tight gap all the way around the trigger guard. So pretty happy with the fitment on it. For this next section to get done, I had to get a little bit crafty on this one. The pocket is all cut out and stuff for the trigger group, and all of that was finished. I think we saw it in the last bid. I had to flip the object around because my mill isn't long enough to keep milling from the same side. And then I used this edge here as my reference to cut everything off on this end. And you'll see one step right here. This part here is actually the part that's flushed off, as long as it's going to be. The rest of this chunk here has to get finished cutting off all the way down. And then what I'm forced to do is rough out this back part here, and then I'll have to take this clamp, move that over to where this stuff is, and then I can finish roughing out this area, because to just leave all of this free hanging to try and rough that all out in one swatch, it's going to flex and vibrate all over the place way too much. The bottom is all done being cut off, and now you can start to see the shape of the lug for the grip starting to form up. I didn't have to cut these right away, but I cut them down at least part way, so when I come in to do this next step where I have to hog out this and shrink the thickness of this thing down, make things a little bit easier, and I figured I had it chucked up anyway, so I might as well see what it was going to start looking like. But it's beginning to look like a firearm. So after much deliberation, I finally decided that no, I'm not going to get the 1 3/8 rotor bit to finish up this bore. So instead I did it my original way, and just a 1/4 inch round nose bit, and kept making paths. I got a bit of stuff done since the last video. I ran on a memory card, and I just didn't have time to go and stop and clean it out and throw it on the computer. But anyway, finished cutting the whole back part here, and the butt plate will end up sitting here, and then the cheek rest will end up getting bolted on the side of the unit. I got the handle all cut down, and hopefully this thing will focus. There we go. It ended up with a really nice gap. Everything fit exactly like it was supposed to. It's good and tight all the way around. The hole has been drilled and tapped for the bolt that holds the handle on, so that's all mounted now. And then the only other thing is I got the bore in there. I took and sanded all of that, so now it's nice and smooth. I don't have any of the ribs anymore. I just took a piece of sandpaper and wrapped it around a socket I had, and I had to add like 3 layers on there before it was finally the right diameter, and just slowly worked it back and forth through there, and it didn't take very long at all to get all the little tiny grooves out from the steps. Alright, next step here would be to cut the notch for the bolt handle, and I have to cut this corner off here at about a 45 along the bottom, and then go back around this whole thing and chamfer all of the edges. Okay, the slot is now cut for the bolt handle. Turned out pretty good. Nice simple 45-degree angle. At least I didn't make any of the angles too complicated. And this is definitely one advantage of having a round shaft mill instead of the square or the dovetail ones, because I can do goofy stuff like this and cock it off to one side to gain some extra room. But yeah, it turned out really good. Okay, since last time I finally decided how much I wanted to cut off the back here, so I tapered that off at an 11-degree angle, and then the front end here, I cut that off at a 45, and I also took and I chamfered the edges all the way around there on the bottom with a 200 thousandths chamfer, and then I chamfered the back side here as well with a 100 thousandths chamfer. Kind of hard to see in the video. There we go, I can see it. I got to make the butt plate for it yet, and then I'll get the butt pad mounted on the plate in the back, and then next is the comb here for the cheek rest. I got the butt plate all made up. I used the original butt pad from the old stock. It had a real nice squishy pad on it, so I just reused that, and I made a plate that matched the same shape as what that was. It turned out pretty darn good. And then I put 2 counter bores in there for the studs that are sticking out on here. Drilled and tapped into that. So this screws onto the plate, and then the plate here screws onto the back of my stock. And once I get it all mounted up on there, then I can drill the large hole in here for my cleaning rod. I now have the butt pad mounted on there, and I got that hole drilled through for the cleaning rod. So the cleaning rod will go all the way up. I'll have to 3D print the bushing for the back. Excuse me. That'll slide into the back of the action. Turned out really good. Nice fit and finish to it. I added just a strip of electrical tape around here. It kind of finished it off a little bit better. Gave it a slightly nicer look to it. Very comfortable, and I got it set up so all my impact from the firing goes straight back into the shoulder, so I don't have so much kick up, muzzle rise, whatever you want to call it. Next it'll be putting on the comb for it. I have my template piece that I made up. A lot easier to bend this thin stuff than the 3/16 I have for the final one. We'll show you that when that's done. The cheek rest is all complete. Bent up really nice. I didn't smooth out anything on the inside, but I just bent the whole thing with a chunk of pipe and a hammer, and then went over the top real lightly with a flapper disc and a little bit of 180, and it really turned out nice. It actually almost looks worse in the video than it does in person, but I ended up with the shape that I wanted. It sits just perfect into the cheek, real positive, good lockup. And maybe I'll stick the action back in here now that I have this done, and let you guys see what it looks like all together. I did the final piece on here. I added another chunk on the bottom side of the stock. It's a piece of 1/2 inch round steel that I bent up. Gives me a little bit extra support for my hand or for my bag when I'm sitting in the prone. It's actually very comfortable. I also just threaded it in there, so if I don't like it, I can just unscrew it, and all I have is just a tapped hole in the bottom that you'd never see. I'm also thinking about maybe doing a monopod on the back, so if I do, it's real easy to add one, then I can just slide over this and it would set screw in place. All the parts are on it and everything right now, except for I'm still running the factory super skinny barrel that's on there. In the front end, I just put a single swivel stud in there, just something so I could stick a bipod on it. I will end up mounting a short chunk of Picatinny rail and bolting that up on there and getting a better bipod for it. This is just one of my universal ones I got floating around. Cheek rest and everything else fits really well. The only thing left to do is strip it all back apart again, and then go around the whole thing and sand it and blend in some of the radii where they meet. There's like a whole bunch of different intersections and stuff in there, and it all has to get blended together and then sand it down. It'll look like one smooth solid piece. Get all the machining marks and stuff out of it. Hopefully you can get a pretty good view from here what the whole thing looks like. I'm very happy with how it turned out. There's a pretty good shot. I'll show you the other side of the rifle. I guess we'll just do a walk around. There's the right side and the rear. Pistol grip. And there's my notch. Relief cutout for the bolt handle. It looks a little bit naked in this area just because there's so much kind of going on everywhere else, and here's sort of a large real estate without any real machining to it. I thought about possibly doing a small V-line groove just down the middle here to add a little bit of accent to it, but I think with whatever I choose for finishing, I can put a decal there. I got a buddy that does decal stuff, and there's a lot of other things I could do, and at least that won't be anything that changes the rifle, because in the future I may add a Accuracy International magazine for it, do like a 5-round, and I can just go in from the top and I can carve all of that out, make a button for it and stuff. If anybody has any type of suggestions on what to do for finishing it, because I have to wait for the barrel to show up, and that's going to take some time, and plus I have to clean everything up on it yet. So I am not 100% sure on what I want to do for finishing, if I want to anodize it or do like a painting hydrographic finish. I don't know. Anybody have any suggestions? Glad to hear from you. Even better if you send me some pics or something in the comment section. But overall, pretty happy with it, and hope you enjoyed seeing the process till it gets to this point. I will post up again when it's all done and let you know how it shoots with the new barrel on it.